Hello and welcome. And indeed, today we have a very packed show for you. This is a really packed hour. We are looking at analog migration into digital television, and also we are looking at to pay or not to pay. What is happening with the Wyoming 50 million in excess? Well, to start the show, I have Honorable Ato Sapon, who is the Deputy Minister for Communication, to explain to us the chronology of what's going to happen from changing from analog into digital transmission. Are we going to wake up one morning and suddenly all our televisions are not going to work? Because indeed, if you haven't got digital facility, you may not be able to get it. Is there any chance we can run the two alongside so that, those who are, let's say if you're on a LEAP program and you have a box television, you're not forced to go and buy a plasma because you couldn't afford it. So you can have a few channels that you watch on your box TV while those who can afford it watch their digital, as indeed is happening now. What is it is a story. And then after, I will have two guests here to try and explain to us the legalese behind the Wyoming saga. My name is Nana Sakwao, and this is a very packed PM Express. Right after this, we are talking. Don't move. Well, thank you very much for staying, and welcome to part one of the show. And we're talking to Ato Sapon with regards to digital transmission and definitely migration from analog into digital. Ato, it sounds scary. You save up, you manage to buy yourself a box television, you bring it to the village. Indeed, you are the village champion. Everybody's hailing you, and then all of a sudden, you know that in 6 months' time, well, barely 6 months. You switch on and nothing is going to happen. I mean, is that the reality?
Thank you very much, Nana, and good evening to your viewers. It's not a reality. It's not a reality. And just to say that in 2006, at what we call the Regional Radio Conference of the International Telecommunications Union, it was decided that globally we should migrate our broadcasting infrastructure from analog to digital. It was decided that all of Europe should migrate, all of Africa should migrate, Middle East and the Republic of Iran should migrate by the 17th of June 2015. Okay, so locally what we did was we began the process somewhere, I would say in 2009, went to Cabinet and secured a roadmap. Just basically agreeing that yes, Ghana has signed up to the ITU resolution, and therefore Ghana must start the process to migrate. And we had known this, I would say, since 2006, that 10 years down the line, we'll be looking at migrating from analog to digital. And so we began the process that led to the contract with StarTimes.
Those of you watching this show are watching it digital.
Yes, yes.
So if you're watching this show, don't panic. You're already digital.
Yeah, so we had a contract with StarTimes. Let me say that as a nation, we decided that instead of giving entities licenses to build digital platforms, we'll build one national platform so that all free-to-air current analog terrestrial broadcasters can ride on that platform. A digital platform is just like a road. So the objective is that let's build one road so all of us can ride on that one road to receive TV signals in our home. So that was our decision. Instead of going towards a private approach where
like what we are doing.
Like what we are doing. So currently, we have broadcasters like yourself, like others, who are all been licensed to provide broadcasting services. But each entity is responsible for building its own infrastructure. So if I want to serve nationwide, then I have to build an infrastructure in Accra and make sure that I have transmitters in each of the regional capitals to be able to deliver service. Now that headache was decided that headache should be government's responsibility, and then all the others will ride on it at a fee, which will be substantially less than if each broadcaster was going to build its own network. So that was a decision that we made, and that's what resulted in our contract with StarTimes, which, as you know, has been terminated. The legal issues, injunction, which didn't work. And we find ourselves in a situation where we need to put in place structures to ensure that as a nation we migrate.
How did StarTimes come in originally, and then later they're not allowed to build this road for us?
We went through in 2010. As I said, in 2009, Cabinet approved the roadmap. So in 2010, the process for identifying a vendor began. That process ended somewhere in 2011. We had a lot of, about 7 or 8 different entities that put in a bid to build the infrastructure for us. The evaluation team did the analysis and settled on StarTimes as the best offer that we could get. So on the 11th of April 2012, we executed an agreement with StarTimes. That agreement was conditioned on certain deliverables. One of them was that they must be able to deliver the funding that's required to roll out the infrastructure, because under the RFP, the vendor must deliver the funding as well as the infrastructure. Okay. And as a nation, we will pay off the vendor over a period of 10 years. So that was part of the bid requirement. Okay, so that was one. Number 2, you needed cabinet approval for any financing structure of that nature. And number 3, you needed cabinet approval with any financing structure of that nature. So there were 3 conditions that were needed to be fulfilled to enable us have the infrastructure in place. The funding was supposed to come from the Import-Export Bank of Export-Import Bank of China, what we call the China Exim Bank. And so the processes began. But somewhere in October of last year, we noticed, we came to the realization that if we don't speed up the process in securing the funding and making sure that we have a roadmap with a trusted vehicle in place to deliver on that roadmap, Ghana would probably not be able to meet the migration deadline and probably not even migrate at all this year. So we initiated some conversation with StarTimes, and on the basis of that, and in line with the specific clauses in the contract, we thought that we couldn't move forward any longer.
Because they couldn't secure the funds?
Yes, with that arrangement. So we terminated. And
StarTimes couldn't secure the funds?
In our opinion, they couldn't secure. So we terminated the process. They thought that it was their right. They went to court. On the 9th of March, we had judgment in our favor in terms of the injunction. The main case is still in court, so we can't talk about it. But the injunction was to stop us from looking for another vendor and to stop us from continuing with our processes that we had initiated to secure a new vendor to deploy the infrastructure. And that was what the court dismissed and gave us, I would say, the permission to proceed. To identify a new vendor.
Is there any way you can run alongside a digital transmission and an analog transmission, or would it become illegal to transmit
What's happening is that let me say that because of that resolution in 2006, global entities that are in the business of manufacturing television sets, manufacturing transmitters, manufacturing equipment within the broadcasting space from the 17th of June 2015 will not be in that business of manufacturing analog equipment again. So all of us will wake up one day and will not have equipment to replace our existing analog infrastructure.
Oh, we will find. Ghana will always find it. I mean, there's a blue kiosk with a guy with his torchlight, soldering machine.
The manufacture of it will cease. Because they all ceased manufacturing, I would say about 2-3 years ago, are now moving into digital. Because technology evolves, and whether we like it or not, to catch up with us. Okay. But we decided that we are going to deploy what we call a digital video broadcasting terrestrial 2 infrastructure. We also decided... Which means that we have terrestrial 1 infrastructure. We have a T infrastructure, what we call terrestrial infrastructure, a normal digital terrestrial infrastructure. Yeah. But with time, they enhance it, they improve it, so that it can do a bit more than what it is doing today.
Okay.
So currently, when you take a particular TV station, a terrestrial TV network, that terrestrial TV network is assigned a license, a frequency band to operate within. Okay, either a VHF, very high frequency, or a UHF, ultra high frequency band to operate in. Now, each broadcaster currently will be doing about 6 to 8 megahertz of spectrum. We'll be using about 6 to 8 megahertz of spectrum in analog.
So other English versions to
yes, in analog. It's a band. So we'll give you a band and say, okay, you're operating from 160 to, let's say, 167. So assign you 5 megahertz of spectrum to operate in. So in order for broadcaster A not to interfere with broadcaster B, each broadcaster is given a specific frequency. So you have your own road.
Yeah.
So currently we have 21 registered entities with the National Communications Authority providing broadcasting services. Each of these 21 is assigned its own frequency. So it has its own route that it's operating. So as a nation, we have 21 broadcasters using close to 170 megahertz of our frequency. Remember that spectrum is a resource. What the mobile operators are using, what multi-TV is using, and what all the broadcasters are using are spectrum and space that belongs to the people of this country. It's a resource, just like any other resource, like gold, like diamond, like oil, like timber. That is how spectrum is. Okay, so now we have 21 of them, each assigned a specific frequency band to operate in. Under digital, each digital band of the same 6 to 8 megahertz, which one broadcaster is using, if we structure it well, we'll be able to take one multiplex of 20 broadcasters.
Okay.
Okay. So with the 21 existing companies, if each of them is doing one single program or one single channel, just like Joy News is a channel, Adom is a channel, Prime, Joy Prime is also a channel, for Kate is a channel. So in the case of multi-TV, if you are terrestrial, we would have assigned you different frequencies for each of these bands. Now with one same frequency, which one broadcaster is using now, we can put on it between 10 to 20 broadcasters.
Okay.
Okay. So as a nation, the surplus spectrum of frequency bands that will be available becomes what we can call as digital dividend. In other words, the surplus or the gains that we are getting as a result of the migration. In Europe, some of these digital dividends have been sold for as much as 2.5 billion US dollars. And that is the resource we are sitting on. So the migration from analog to digital all of a sudden allows us an opportunity to retrieve back spectrum which is now being used within the analog space, which now becomes free for other services.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. I mean, the other services, apart from maybe television and mobile network, who else needs this spectrum that the nation might want to sell to?
You mentioned it. Within the broadcasting space, there are certain other services that you can provide. So within the broadcasting space, what digital would do is that it will offer broadcasters new revenue streams. So it is not just advertising based. You can now deliver probably services in high definition, what people call HD, pay-per-view, video on demand, and all of that. All of that becomes immediately available. Apart from that, we have what we call the electronic programming guide, EPG. So currently, if I get home now, I have many channels on my network, all the local channels. I need to flip through and know what is showing. PM Express is at 9 and all of that. That guide will enable me just by looking at the screen.
So all those things run on a spectrum?
Yes, all of those things run on the spectrum. They run on frequency. Apart from that, there are value-added services that mobile operators could provide. In addition, we could assign some of those frequencies for mobile operators as well as value-added service providers.
Recording of channels, would it be spectrum or would it just be the box to record a program? Do you need a spectrum for that or just a...
That's part of the box.
That's the box,
that's
okay.
Part of the back end. That's part of the back end.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So you need ISP. You can assign some of those frequencies for ISP services, mobile value-added services. You have a lot of value-added service providers now coming up, those providing those SMS. So it allows us to do a lot more that under the current regime we can't do because the spectrum is being used by analog broadcasters.
So what's next? I mean, what should Ghanaians expect? That what has the deadline now moved forward a bit, or what's going to happen?
The deadline has not moved. Let me say that as a country.
So by June, is it June?
17th of June is the deadline. As a country,
tomorrow is 18th of June. What's going to happen?
By 18th of June, we would have come out with a solution that will be mutually accepted. Remember that this is not only from a government point of view. It's also from a broadcaster's point of view.
You see, I say this because I see container loads of this big, the big televisions. I mean, container loads of it, all cling film, and people are carrying it home with
Let me explain that. Currently, we have some level of digital infrastructure on the ground. Our national broadcaster, Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, has invested in deploying some digital infrastructure in the Greater Accra and Ashanti region. You have your own station, multimedia, having invested in a digital infrastructure, but that is satellite. Okay, it is satellite, but it is still digital. We visited almost all the free-to-air broadcasters, and they've all invested on the back end, enhancing their infrastructure from analog to digital. We have other private providers, private terrestrial platform providers who've been licensed to provide pay services, who have also deployed some form of digital infrastructure on the ground.
So the reason I say that, those with the box TV would need to go and buy like a box so that they can watch digital channels.
Yes, what it means is that currently broadcasting is in analog, presently. So we all receive our signals in analog format. When we move from analog to digital, the signal, the transmission will be digital. But your TV set may be an analog, or even if it's a digital TV, it may be a terrestrial one, T1 TV set.
So every TV would work?
Yes. What we have decided, let me explain. What we have decided is a T2. So for you to receive the digital signal onto an analog TV set, you need what we call a converter. That converter is what people call set-top box. To receive, so that converter will be the first equipment that will receive the signal in digital, convert it to be able to be compatible with your TV and speak.
Approximately how much will the converter cost?
It depends. If we are looking at volumes, it depends. It could be from as low as, depending upon what we put in it and what we want the box to do for us, to range from something like $10 to something like 35 cedis. 35 cedis to something like 100 cedis.
Thank you very much. That's all time will allow me. So let's start saving. At least if you can save 50 Ghana cedis or 100 Ghana cedis, you know that you'll get yourself a converter and you don't have to throw your TV away.
Of course.
But this conversation hasn't finished. We are going to continue. Thank you very much for the explanation. So folks, we're going to take a break, and then when we come back, to pay or not to pay, don't move. We're coming straight back.